So, today we're going to be having a conversation around guarding our hearts against the beliefs, the motivations, and the attitudes that are taking root in our hearts and we don't even know them or we're not aware of them. How many of us actually take the time to examine our hearts, like truly examine our hearts, to check out for the condition of our hearts? How many of us actually, examine our actions and our words and relay them back to the attitude of our hearts? And that was something that I never used to do, like my actions and my words, like how do they fit together with the condition of my heart, until I had an aha moment. And so this is an aha moment God showed me a while back, and over the years God has sort of like built upon it, giving me revelation upon revelation for it. So a couple of years ago, I had gone to a takeaway shop to buy chicken, right? And I ordered and waited for my order. I said the 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and I'm just like, I need to get back to work. And I went back to the counter, and I'm just like, my order. And only to realize that the guy had not even put my order through. I was upset, caused a bit of a drama scene, said some unkind words, and then eventually I got my chicken and I left. And the moment I stepped out, I felt a bit bad for the drama that I had caused and the unkind words that I'd said. But at the back of my mind, I'm just like, no, but I was triggered. They should have done their job properly, customer service, blah 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 blah. So I just kept it moving. I went back to work, and then a couple of days later, in my own quiet time with God, as I was going through it, and I was just like self-reflecting, I then realized that I was just like, but God, I know, the whole customer service thing, yeah, sure, but I'm not a drama person. I'm not a dramaful person. I don't even like drama. Why am I out in these streets, causing drama? What is that? And as I was going through it and I was trying to understand it, I then realized the Holy Spirit dropped in my spirit that if it is not on the inside of you, it cannot come out of you. If it came out of you, it's on the inside of you. And I was taken aback. I was just like, what? And as I was sitting through it and I was thinking through it, and I was just like, how many times do we act out a certain way? Do we say certain things? And then we just basically say, well, that's the way that I am, or they triggered me, or they made me do it, and then God is just like, no one makes you do anything. Yes, you can be triggered. Yes, you can be hurt. Yes, you can feel a certain way. But if a certain thing is not on the inside of you, it will not come out of you. You could have dealt with the situation in another manner and still gotten, the results that you eventually got, i.e., said what it is that you needed to say, got, your chicken in time, or ended up getting your chicken, or whatever the case may be. You could have done it another way. You could say things in another way. You can do things in another way. You can see things in another way. But at a present moment in time, at a present juncture, what it is that comes out of you is what is sitting on the inside of you. It is an indication. It was at that particular point in time that I realized that, triggered or not, whether someone else was trifling or not, right, how I decide to respond to them is an indication of the condition of my own heart. Right? And the Bible took me to Luke 6 verse 45. The Holy Spirit took me to Luke 6 verse 45, and it says, a good man out of the good treasure of his heart brings forth good, and an evil man out of the evil treasure of his heart brings forth evil, for out of the abundance of the heart his mouth speaks. This is a Bible. This is a life application Bible. So there's a place where it talks about, application to life. And it says, Jesus reminds us that our speech and our actions reveal the true underlying beliefs, attitudes, and motivations. The good impressions we try to make cannot last. Regardless of the good impression that you may want people to have about you, it won't last, because ultimately, at the end of the day, what's on the inside will come out. What is in your heart will come out in your speech and in your behavior. And then in another translation, it says, I think this is the Passion Translation, it says, for the overflow of what has been stored in your heart will be seen in your fruit and it will be heard in your words, right? So basically what it is that is saying is that what is in your heart, what has been stored in your heart, what you have okayed in your heart, right? Knowingly or unknowingly, what you have okayed in your heart will come out in your actions and it will come out in your words. Right? And at that particular moment in time, I started feeling bad. I was just like, oh my word, I didn't realize that I'm this type of person and whatever. And the Holy Spirit reminded me that God only reveals to heal. That's God's purpose, in revealing what is on the inside of our hearts, right? God reveals because he's like, it's time to heal that. It's time not to repeat that pattern. But the enemy wants to use it, right, to cause us to stay in a place of shame and guilt and hide and want to hide the fact that sometimes we can say unsavory things to people, that sometimes we can be proudful, that sometimes our ego is still, running the show. The enemy wants us to feel shame and guilt about that. And the moment you feel shame and guilt, you will hide it. The moment you feel shame and guilt, you will excuse it. The moment you feel shame and guilt around it, you will find excuses and you will blame other people, and that is where it is gonna stop. But the reality of it is that the more you keep on excusing it, the more you keep on hiding it, the more it'll keep on popping up. The more you're trying to hide it with whatever, i.e. the image, there will come a situation where it is gonna come back up again because it is stored in your heart. Right? And the thing is, we cannot lie to life. We cannot lie in this life. The reality of it is that it will come. And the more you hide it, rather than bring it back to God and say, okay, I didn't realize that I had that. I didn't realize that it's not really who you want me to be. It's not what you have for me. Let us work on it, Holy Spirit. The more you hide it, the more it'll grow. And the more it grows, the more the enemy is just like, I'm just waiting for a day where that pride that you keep on hiding and not working on, there'll be a day where I'll just embarrass you with your own self. And that is why God consistently says, I simply reveal to heal. And so 3 things to work through, examining our hearts, right? Number 1, it is identify those actions on those words that you don't want to be associated with you, right? You're just like, you know what? Currently, I am acting in a certain way, right? When I am triggered, and take the situations where you are triggered, because even when you are triggered, you are still responsible for your actions at the end of the day, right? Because as I said early on, you could have chosen to act in another way, right? But at that particular juncture, you probably don't have the tools. You probably haven't, this is your default way of doing. But bottom line is, you need to take responsibility of the fact that, right, I don't want to act in this way anymore, right? So you've got to be able to, number 1, identify the actions, identify the elements with that. When you are triggered, when you feel insecure, this is the way that you act. When you feel, when someone says this about you, you relate it to something else and therefore you act a certain way. Identify those things, and as they come up, know that if you find yourself in a hot situation and you blow left, right, it's okay. Identify it, note it, bring it back to God, right? And identify it as the things that you and God will work on over the next period, that you and God will work on for however long you and God will work on them. And the nice thing about identifying words and actions is that you get the opportunity to be aware, right? And I think I've said this before, that Just because you are not aware of what is sitting in your heart does not mean that it does not control your actions. Just because you have decided that you're just going to be like, well, that's the way that I am, that's the way that I want to react, that's the way that things are, that's my identity, well, you triggered me. That it doesn't matter. Bottom line is you will keep on acting in that particular way. Right? And so what it is that then happens is that when God reveals it, or when you act it out, right, all God is saying is that put it on the list. It's time that we heal it, because God is a healing God. God is a restoring God. God is a loving God. God is a God that wants the best for you, right? And God is a God that wants to work with you. God is not a God that condemns you. The Holy Spirit is there to convict you, and the Holy Spirit always convicts us with grace and love. Right? And so identify them, and when you start seeing them, note them down, because remember, this journey is between you and God. Right? And besides, God already knows this on the inside, so it's not like you're telling him anything that's new. So identify those words and those actions and note them down, because now, as you're acting out, right, out of the abundance of your heart, and be like, oh my word, no, just note it down. Well, these are the things that we need to work on. Number 2, walk in the Holy Spirit. Right, the Bible tells us to walk in the Spirit, and we will not bring to fruition the ways of the flesh. Right, that's paraphrased, by the way. All right, so but basically, walk in the Spirit. Right, the Holy Spirit is there to teach you. The Bible tells us that the Holy Spirit is there to teach us and to reveal all truths to us. We may not know how else to react, because the way that we're acting, right, could have been, something that we would have been taught when we were young. It comes out, we would have been taught when we were young. It comes out, from what it is that from our environment. We don't know. It's like it's default, right? But the Holy Spirit knows exactly how to renew those default settings, how to give you a new way of acting, how to teach you in certain situations that, yes, you're triggered. You can get a better outcome by doing things this way, where you have the ability to have your say, but at the same time to not go around wounding people that are around you. Right, and still get the respect that you desire. Not in that way. The Holy Spirit is there to teach you what are the new ways to walk in. And the Holy Spirit is so faithful. He is so patient, right? But the nice thing about it is that once you've identified a situation that triggers you, at least now you'll be in a position where you can work with the Holy Spirit and be like, Holy Spirit, I am triggered. How do I go about this? And the Holy Spirit will work with you. All right, that was number 2. And number 3, and the last one is, always walk with a heart posture of humility. Right? It is a heart posture of humility that God works with. Right? Humbling our hearts before God, humbling our hearts under the hand of God, and in due season, God is going to be the one that lifts us up. And the thing is about humility, isn't it just about like being raised up by God or being lifted up by God? It's really also about learning how to walk with Him and learning how to be teachable. Right? Walking with a heart posture of humility is you walking with a heart posture of teachability. Right? Where you have the ability to learn from situations, to know that you don't always have to get situations correct, to know that you don't always have to do things right, to know that you don't always do things correct, that you don't do things correct all the time, and that's okay. Right? And that's okay. When you walk with a heart of humility or a heart posture of humility, you're okay with not getting things correct. And that's fine. And that is when it becomes easier for the Holy Spirit to walk and to work with you. All right. And so I really hope that this aha moment has blessed you, because it was an absolute blessing in my own life, in terms of, building relationships, in terms of growing, in terms of like just guarding my own heart and also examining my heart and identifying the things that are there that I didn't even know that they were there. But because I'm acting out a certain way, because I'm saying certain things in a certain way, it's just like, no, girl, it's in there. And it is up to me to be like, no, I don't want to go down like that anymore. I don't want to do that anymore. You know, and the Holy Spirit is just like, I got you. We can do this thing together. And so I really hope it blessed you. And if it blessed you, share it with other people. And if you haven't subscribed, I don't know what you're waiting for. So subscribe below, hit the bell button so that we can so that you can be notified of the next aha moment that comes through. Otherwise, thank you. Until next time. Cheers. Bye.